Welcome to the Year of the Movie podcast, the podcast where we talk about movies from the year of the movie 2023. We're your hosts, and we started this podcast because 2023 was kind of a goofy year for movies. You had some good stuff, you had some not so good stuff. You had 65, you had 80 for Brady, you had Strays.
It's up to you if that's the good stuff or not good stuff category.
If you like this podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon and following us on Instagram at Virtual Cocktail for both of those. Review and rate us on podcast platforms. And then, just keep watching, I guess.
Yeah, all those things are helpful.
What are we talking about today?
We're talking about Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Pretty good. The synopsis is, during the 90s, a new faction of Transformers, the Maximals, joined the Autobots as allies in the battle for Earth. What were your first impressions when you heard about this movie, and how familiar are you, / what are your thoughts on the Transformers franchise?
I like Transformers. I think the movies were pretty dumb, but, some of them had fun moments, some of them had racist moments, and some of them had Michael Bay moments.
It's got everything. A little something for everyone.
And those are the live-action ones that I'm talking about. The animated ones are fun. I grew up watching the show that this movie is somewhat based on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether it's based on the show or the comics. I don't remember, but there was a show called Beast Wars, I think.
Yeah.
And I liked that show a lot as a kid. I was purely just on that aspect intrigued by this movie. I don't really care about more Transformers movies. Mm-hmm. Most of them are real bad. What about you?
I was kind of like, oh, I guess we do have to watch that, huh?
Yeah. That
was my impression when I heard about this movie. I know Transformers has kind of been a franchise where if I think about it, I've watched a surprising number of them, but I feel like I just end up watching them. I've never intentionally been like, today's the day. I'm watching Bumblebee. It's just kind of, it's a good franchise to have on if you're in like a hotel room or something. That's kind of my association with it.
I'll say Bumblebee was probably the best of the live action films.
That's kind of the consensus that I've gotten. I haven't seen that one. I think the last one that I know I saw was we watched the Last Night, not the Dark Knight.
Transformers: The Dark Knight.
Yeah, he's Batman.
Robots, I am Batman. Yeah, no, The Last Night.
And that was goofy.
It was a real rough run.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was like, we watched that because we wanted something on in the background, and then it was just kind of like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So, I feel indifferent about it. So I'm not going to do a super deep dive on the trailer. I was mostly looked up stuff about the first teaser trailer that came out, and it's explosions. It's, it's saying like, this is a new story that's never been done before. It's taking the franchise in a new direction. All of that good stuff, all those promises. It does the thing of, it's like the trailer begins now when you've already clicked on the trailer. Yep. And it in that begins now clip, then it has Anthony Ramos walking out of the Transformer as it transforms around him, and like sitting in the car seat, and then he just like steps out and walks, and like that shot is cool, and they use it twice because it's at the beginning and then in that trailer itself. So it's like, sure, yep, good. So the teaser trailer got 238 million views on YouTube in its first 24 hours. That's more than any trailer in Paramount's history. That trailer was released December 1st, 2022. And then it also had the most cross-platform views than any other trailer released that week at 494 million global views. And that was more than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Jeez.
So people were invested, or at least curious, I guess.
What do you mean he's gonna be a robot ape?
Yeah. Apes together strong. Yeah. Talk about the cast.
The cast: Anthony Ramos as Noah Diaz, Dominique Fishback as Elena Wallace, Dean Scott Vasquez as Chris Diaz, Toby Nwigwe as
Nwigwe, I think.
as Reek.
Mm-hmm.
Is that one of the robots?
No, that's his friend.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime, Ron Perlman as Optimus Primal, Peter Dinklage as Scourge, Michelle Yeoh as Air Razor, Pete Davidson as Mirage, Lisa Koshy as RC? Oh, like an RC car.
Mm-hmm.
John DiMaggio as Transit/Stratosphere, David Sobolov as Rhinox, Battletrap, Ape Link. Those are 3 different ones.
Yeah.
MJ Rodriguez as Nightbird, Coleman Domingo as Unicron, Cristo Fernandez as Wheeljack, Tongai, Teresa
Mm-hmm.
as Cheetor, Leslie Stahl as Leslie Stahl.
Yep. So Toby Nwigwe is he's a singer, freestyle rapper. This is his film debut. I had seen his music videos, didn't know it was him. He's cool. He's got a very particular aesthetic. Neat, good for him.
Yep.
He's also got a song that's on the soundtrack of this movie. So good deal there, bud. So we'll kind of go through who all these characters are in the plot breakdown, but Noah Diaz is the main character. Elena Wallace is the second main character. Chris Diaz is a little guy. Noah's brother. Reek is a human man. Optimus Prime is a robot. Optimus Primal is a robot. Scourge is a robot. Basically, the rest of the cast, except for Leslie Stahl, are robots. Although we don't know about Leslie. I don't want to make assumptions.
I don't even remember who.
Leslie Stahl as Leslie Stahl from 60 Minutes in a cameo role. We'll get there.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
I remember it now. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I figured they used archival footage and then.
She's got a credit on
Good for
IMDb.
Leslie Stahl.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get through this plot together. I guess if you have anything you want to add, then stop me. So Unicron, an evil being that eats planets, attacks the homeworld of the Maximals. Their leader, Ape Link, sacrifices himself and holds off Unicron's servant Scourge while the other Maximals get away with the transwarp key and hide on Earth. Their new leader is Optimus Primal, who is a big ape. It is now 1994 in Brooklyn, and Noah, a former soldier and guy who is good with tech, he is getting ready for a job interview. It doesn't go well, and Noah is also trying to balance taking care of his little brother Chris, who is very sick. Noah's friend Reek convinces him to steal a car so they can make money. There's a heist. Noah finds a Porsche and gets in it to steal it, only it's a transformer, and it starts driving by itself. There's a police chase through the city.
Sorry, I do want to say one thing.
You want to say one thing?
Noah being good at tech.
Does not come up nearly as much as it should.
They show that he's good at tech by he is putting together a DVD player, VHS.
I think it's a because Reek said he gives the thing to Reek.
Was it a cable box?
It's some sort of cable box, and Reek is like, I don't want to pay for my own cable.
Okay, so he's putting together a '90s cable box,
Yeah.
and that means he's good at tech.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway,
Continue.
you steal a car. Meanwhile, a museum intern, Elena, is studying an ancient statue of a bird, trying to make sense of mysterious markings. The statue crumbles, revealing a hidden glowing object inside, the transwarp key. The key sends out a beacon that humans can't see, and Optimus Prime calls the Autobots together. Noah is accidentally brought to this meeting by his new car friend, Mirage. Noah meets Optimus Prime, RC, and Bumblebee. Mirage convinces Optimus that they can use Noah to get into the museum and get the key for them. Optimus is reluctant to work with humans, but they need the key to get back to their homeworld. Noah gets into the museum where he startles Elena. She calls for security, but there's an explosion as Scourge and his henchmen, Battletrap and Nightbird, also found the Key's beacon and want it for Unicron. There's a big robot battle as the humans try to get the key to the Autobots. Scourge gets the key and kills Bumblebee along the way. He retreats when the Maximal Air Razor shows up. Air Razor reveals the Maximals actually split the key in half to better protect it, but she doesn't know where the other half is. Elena thinks she knows, since the only other place the strange markings were found was in Peru. The humans want to help the Autobots, Noah not fully trusting Optimus to protect his world. Noah says goodbye to Chris, who asks Mirage to look out for his brother. The Autobots all take a plane named Stratosphere to Peru, Noah telling Elena along the way that they should destroy the key half to protect Earth. She's reluctant since it means the Autobots can never go home. The group also brought Bumblebee's body with them, hoping to repair him. The group meets another bot, Wheeljack, in Peru, who helps them find the temple they're looking for. Noah and Elena find the key location, but it isn't there. They're chased by Scourge's mini evil bots into the jungle, where they find Maximals. Air Razor introduces everyone to Cheetor, Rhinox, and Optimus Primal. There was another robot fight along the way, and Scourge injured Air Razor, who was being corrupted, dissolved, something.
A little bit of both?
A little bit of both. The Maximals reveal they gave their key half to a remote tribe, and Optimus Prime is surprised at their trust in humans. The corruption takes over Air Razor, who reluctantly attacks the group and works with Scourge now. Scourge gets the other key half, and Optimus Primal has to kill Air Razor. The key is back together, and Unicron is now on the way.
Optimal Primal kills Air Razor by hugging to death. Just hugs real hard.
Yeah, and then it cuts away surprisingly quickly. And Air Razor the whole time is also like evil. Knows she's evil. Can't isn't strong enough to fight it. But then she's also telling Optimus Primal it's okay.
You have to do this.
You have to do it. Optimus Prime and Noah realize they should have been working as a team this whole time and decide they don't want to give up. The Autobots all distract Scourge and his army while Noah and Elena sneak through a small tunnel to try and input a code that will stop the portal opening. They almost make it but are discovered, and Mirage almost dies while protecting Noah. Elena manages to get away and starts putting the code in. Noah's little brother Chris uses their radio system to encourage his brother to keep going and not give up. Mirage says he needs Noah to take the wheel for a bit, forming an Iron Man-like suit around Noah. Noah and Optimus Prime keep fighting. Also, Bumblebee is brought back to life because of the energy field the portal opening created, and he joins the battle as well. He kills Nightbird in the air, just kind of completely slices her apart. Yeah. Elena puts in the code, but Scourge destroys the panel she was using, so they can't stop the key. Optimus Prime kills Scourge, then tells everyone to get back so he can sacrifice himself to close the portal and protect Earth. He destroys the key, which opens a vortex, sucking in all the remaining evil robots. Optimus is about to be pulled into the vortex when Noah and Primal save him. The army is destroyed, and Unicron is stranded. The Autobots consider Earth their new home and vow to protect it along with the Maximals. Elena is interviewed on 60 Minutes by Leslie Stahl about her discovery of a temple in Peru, and Noah goes in for another job interview. It turns out to not be the ordinary security job he expected, but an interview with a top-secret government organization who also say they'll cover Chris's healthcare as a thank you for saving the world. Noah looks at the business card he was given, and it says, G.I. Joe. There's a mid-credit scene.
G.I. Joe.
There's a mid-credit scene where Reek is talking to Noah as he fixes up a car made out of spare parts. Reek says he doesn't think it'll even start. Then the car transforms, revealing that Noah fixed Mirage.
Because he's good at tech.
And it's come up this entire time.
Yeah.
The end.
So this is our first live-action cinematic crossover of Transformers and G.I. Joe. And I want the Hasbro Cinematic Universe. Because they've already done the Dungeons & Dragons movie. So they're open to movies.
Oh.
So I want a D&D, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Monopoly type of movie. The Transformers have to stop capitalism. from forming in the olden times of magic and dragons.
I was gonna say the Transformers and have to team up with their best friends G.I. Joe in order to stop capitalism. And then the movie happens and they do it. And then it pulls out and it shows that it was a D&D campaign the whole time.
Dungeons and Dragons, the transforming G.I. Joes versus capitalism. The title.
Yep. Yep. Let's hope so. So things that stuck out from this movie?
Mhm.
I think the character designs are pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like they are starting, like, and I think that, like, Bumblebee was kind of the start of trying to make the robots look more like the animated comics and the cartoons and whatnot. Because, like, the Michael Bay ones, they just looked like big old robots, and that was cool. But people do like accuracy of source material, and I think that's like in the MCU we're getting more like comic accurate costumes or whatnot.
Isn't the MCU doing that, like, in part at least because like there's a bunch of like IP things and like some people, because like there was the whole Scarlet Witch thing where like they couldn't call her Scarlet Witch, and then they got the rights to call her Scarlet Witch, and now her costume is different. Or
I think there's some of that, but like even the Captain America stuff and other costumes, I think it was just like when they started, they wanted it to seem a bit more realistic.
Yeah.
And then as they kept going and going, people were like, give us comic accurate, and then they did, and people liked it, and so they're just going.
That's fair. Yeah. I guess that tracks with the new Wolverine costume too. Yeah.
I just like Bumblebee's design in this definitely looked more like Bumblebee in the comics or animations to me. Yeah, no, I thought.
Yeah, I just think the Maximals, I'm like, I don't know why. You know, I can't quite logic jump to like, yeah, it makes sense that a species would evolve to be mechanical and also look like big ape or whatever. But like, if you're gonna do that, then I think the designs to make it that way look pretty neat.
The Maximals had hair.
They did. Some of them had hair. Airazor had feathers.
Yep.
It's a combo. Elena had stuff to do in this movie.
Like, make a sandwich for all the men robots.
No.
Oh, sorry. That was just my hopes and dreams.
Yeah, she found codes, she does research, she is not pushed aside to the story. Like, she's not there when the big action sequences are happening, but she's still, like, doing stuff for the plot and, like, trying to figure out an ancient alien technology in order for them to stop someone from eating their planet. So, like, it's a pretty important job, I guess.
I feel like they also didn't really force a romantic...
No, these two are just buds.
Yeah, and like they care about each other because like there's a moment where like Noah is really like checking in on her, and he's just like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay?"
Yeah.
But there's no like romantic tension of like, "Oh, do we kiss now?"
Yeah, he just sees her on 60 Minutes and he's like, "Nice."
And then like at the very end, she rests her head on his shoulder, and that's the closest I feel like of.
Yeah.
But even then, it's just like, no, they're
it's
just...
not like will they, won't they? It's just like, you've had a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time to rest.
Yeah. The one goofy part with her character is, so when she's introduced, she works at this museum on Staten Island, or...
I think they said Ellis Island.
Oh, Ellis Island, right.
I was real confused about.
Yeah, because she drove there. But, so she works at a museum. They show like the classic intern stuff of like she's got a cup holder thing full of coffees. She's picking up dry cleaning. She's like rushing through things, but then she's also stopping and like talking to kids to be like, "Hey, you should really check out this exhibit." So like she knows the stuff, and it's like she cares about these things. And then she gets to the office, and then her boss is like, "The police are here, and they want to know like." If these forgeries are forgeries, and like they need to know stuff. So she like brings Elena in to look at everything and to tell her if it's forgeries or not, and then she takes the credit for everything. It was just like her boss character. There were a couple other like random moments before the big explosions started happening where it's just like, why would you make an academic? And it's like if you had a Devil's Wear Prada type of boss in a museum.
Yeah.
It was a weird choice.
Like a museum that clearly had a lot of funding and prestige, and it was just like a person who had no idea, like she lucked into the job, basically. It was an odd choice for sure.
Yeah. Because we watched it, and I was just like, no one gets into like academia for the money or like the fame. I don't know. She like the boss is like whatever magazine is gonna do a article on me, but the way that she says it is not even like it's going to happen. She's just like, well, when they discover this thing, then they'll do a profile on me. So
Yeah.
like she's just banking on stuff to happen. I don't know. That was the iffiest.
Yeah, and I feel like having that 60 Minutes interview at the end sort of connected that. I thought it was weird that Elena was like, I don't know, I don't want to say like just taking the credit, but just like, I don't know.
It was weird because
capitalizing and just being like, I'm famous now.
Yeah. I like, because we've learned enough about her character at that point, it's like, yeah, she's truly doing it for the knowledge and not for the fame. And it's more just like now she gets respect of the industry or the world, I guess. But it is a weird choice that, because it's like the temple where they were supposed to find the key thing and then the Maximals had moved it. But it's weird that they were like, that she was like, we should draw attention to this thing. I don't know.
Yep.
But she's got a solid career path, so good for her. The soundtrack is pretty good.
Yep.
There's I don't know, no specific like standout tracks or anything, but it's just music from the 90s, and it fit well.
Yeah.
Lined up with some good action sequences and stuff.
Yeah.
And then this is because like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but like I felt a similar thing watching this movie that I did to the other times that I remember watching Transformers movies or just action movies in general of like a certain type, just like the Michael Bay movies, where there's a certain part where I just kind of check out of like paying attention to the plot and you just let the images happen in front of me, and it's not unenjoyable or enjoyable. It's just kind of seeing the stuff, being like, all right.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like about Transformers movies is that
that's what makes it a good background movie.
Like they are able to just turn your brains off,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I am when watching movies constantly trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
And I know that maybe I shouldn't do that because then I just am unimpressed when a movie doesn't trick me.
Yeah.
The Transformers movies are able to trick me because they turn my brain off. Like, there's just so much happening that I'm just like,
Yeah. And it's not a dig or anything. Like, it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a type of movie that's enjoyable if you want to not think about stuff, and, like, escapism is very fair, and that's, all good.
I will say I did enjoy this movie more than I thought I would.
Mm-hmm.
The script wasn't bad. And, like, there was a lot of stuff in it that I was like, that's actually pretty funny. Pete Davidson playing Mirage. Great casting.
Yeah, Pete Davidson was good. Yeah, there's some pretty good performances. There's I don't know any of these characters really. Like, I know who Optimus Prime is. I know who Bumblebee is. I don't know who RC is, if she's shown up before, or she has actually, because Liza Koshy replaced a different voice actor. Yeah, but like I don't know who these people are, so just hearing like one or two action sounding lines from them, I'm just like, don't know who you are. But yeah, there's some good elements in there.
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman.
Love Ron Perlman.
Yeah. Yep. Anything else we want to talk about?
It's a Transformers movie. There's really only so much we can say about a Transformers movie. It was better than I thought it would be. It's not as good as Bumblebee. It's better than Michael Bay ones. I think Transformers movies were dumb action films until Bumblebee, and then Bumblebee actually tried to give it some plot and some heart. Yeah. The first Michael Bay one, maybe, but after that, it was all pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about the Mark Wahlberg era was when it was.
I think we found a Transformer.
It's a special era. Yeah, I remember the first one being like, I wasn't impressed by it, but I remember watching it and being like, I could see how this is impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting with Bumblebee, they actually, I don't know, to me, look good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean, like, the effects. I just mean the camera of the Michael Bay, because it's Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Looks dirty and gritty and hard to look at, because everything is just gray and contrasty. And this one, not as contrasty. It's still a lot of gray, because it's metal.
Mm-hmm.
But Bumblebee was quite colorful.
Yep.
And that's something that the one producer, we went to a panel, producers on producing, and Michael Bay. Transformers producer was on the panel, and he was like, saying that with this new Transformers movie that's coming out, Transformers 1, they wanted to finally give it some color to a Transformers movie, since the Michael Bay ones in live action were all metal and washed out and stuff. And so, like, that is coming across that they're like, oh, maybe we should make these films look nice so people want to look at it.
I did think it was funny how he was talking about the plot of Transformers 1, because it's Optimus Prime and what's his face? The bad one.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Yeah. I don't know his name.
Nothing?
No.
Megatron.
Oh, yeah. Like, they were friends and now they're not.
Yeah.
But the way that he was describing it, he was like, it's biblical. The betrayal.
Yeah. That one does actually look good.
It does. I just think the way that you hype up these movies, you gotta really just believe in the project to describe it as biblical. Anything else?
No, I guess now we can go to production fix.
I will say there is unfortunately no Cogsworth in this movie, and
that's true. Cogsworth is the one good part of The Last Night.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen The Last Night,
just look up Cogsworth.
Yeah.
So this movie had a world premiere at the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore on May 27th, 2023, with a U.S. theatrical release June 9th, 2023, and then various global release dates sometime around June. And this was delayed from its initial June 24th, 2022 release. I don't know what specifically caused the delay. It just said that it was.
Yep.
And then it has a 2-hour and 7-minute runtime, and it's rated PG-13. It's got a 52% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 91% audience score, 42 out of 100 on Metacritic, and an A- on CinemaScore. The Rotten Tomato critic consensus is actually more positive than I thought it would be for being a 52% rating, where it says, thanks to some genuine human drama between the set pieces and palpable affection for the title characters, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts is one of the franchise's more enjoyable outings. Most of the reviews that I saw, that I kind of skimmed through, were like pretty mid-level scores. They were all like 2.5 out of 5 or like 3 stars or whatever. But they still all called it one of the best films of the franchise. So
I think it's hard giving Transformers a good review because it's Transformers, and it feels weird giving Transformers the same score as a movie that is good that isn't Transformers. Like, to give, like, and we'll get into like our ratings, but to give like this movie and a movie that we would rate at 70% the same just feels wrong. So I think it does have the Transformers score
It's a weighted average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Transformers, it's good.
Yeah.
For like a movie, it's
52%.
I can't give this the same review as We Have a Ghost.
As Paddington. Yep. I saw one thing that was saying like, the general rule with this franchise is the lower the Rotten Tomato score, then the higher they do at the box office. And this is somewhere in there. So the budget of this movie was projected between $195 to $200 million. There's a weird noise happening around us. Don't know.
Sorry if you heard it. You probably didn't.
Yep, but it's throwing us off. Anyway, budget of $195 to $200 million. The box office, it did $438.9 million.
So not bad.
It's $157 million from the U.S. and then $281.9 million international. It's still considered to have underperformed at the box office.
God, I hate Hollywood.
Despite debuting at number 1 in its opening weekend, and then it was also projected to earn between 50 to 60 million in its opening weekend, and it earned $60.5 million. So it's hitting all of its numbers.
Yeah.
I found this thing from Slash Film that talks about, because we've talked about box office math before, and how like you need to make back your budget and a half basically to be considered to break even because of like marketing and distribution costs and stuff like that. So this thing from Slash Film also talks about another wrinkle where it says studios typically reap a smaller percentage of ticket sales in foreign markets, and that's especially true of China, where a trade agreement dictates that U.S. studios receive only 25% of box office revenue. $91 million in ticket sales at the Chinese box office accounts for more than 20% of the global total for Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, and only around $22 million of that would have found its way back to Paramount Pictures. Factoring in marketing costs and the division of revenue, it's doubtful that Rise of the Beasts paid for itself during its theatrical run. So it wild. It's the lowest grossing film of the franchise. And then it's the highest grossing film in Peru of all time with 52.6 million souls. Peru was like the 4th largest market for this movie behind the US and I think China and then maybe the UK or something.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to it getting delayed. I think I read that it was because test audiences
there were some changes with test audiences.
Confused or didn't like it, and so they had to change some things.
Mm-hmm. I think the previous lowest grossing film was Bumblebee.
I mean, that makes sense to me because the films were getting worse each time, and so by the time Bumblebee came out, people were like, I don't care about a prequel.
Bumblebee did better than this internationally, so I guess it did just enough to like... I think it did pay for itself, maybe.
Yeah.
And also, people do consider Bumblebee like the best one of the franchise. So
I mean, clearly, like they're still doing well enough that they're making Transformers 1.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be 1 or 2 more just Transformers movies that are already like greenlit.
There's some kind of TV show.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
I mean, Paramount is struggling.
Yes.
Just constantly. And this is one of their big IPs.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Like, this maybe didn't pay for itself, but again, we don't really know how streaming numbers impact money. So that could also, they're probably making money off of this. It's just like, did whatever production account that was set up to make this movie actually earn money? I don't know. So the production timeline for this, the good news about having these big blockbusters is, my God, there's so much info on them. So in December 2018, producer Lorenzo de Bonaventura, that's the guy that we saw at the panel, he says that another big Transformers movie will be produced, and it will be different than the ones we've done before, inspired by the success of Bumblebee that year. Lots of Bumblebee cast and crew say they want to come back for a sequel, and that they all basically have ideas. Like, they were all like, yeah, we want to come back and we know exactly what we want to do. January 2019, there's a Bumblebee sequel announced, and de Bonaventura confirms the script is being written in March of that year. January 2020, Paramount is reportedly working on 2 Transformers films, one by James Vanderbilt and one by Joby Harold. November 2020, Stephen Cable Jr. is hired to direct Joby Harold's script. At some point, Darnell Medayer and Josh Peters are hired to rewrite Harold's script, and then Eric and John Hober also have screenplay credit, and I don't know when they got involved, but there's a lot of names that were all over this script. James Vanderbilt also got some sort of like additional support credit, even though they didn't go with the script. But April of 2021, Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback are both cast in the movie. June 2021, Stephen Cable Jr. and De Bonaventura reveal the movie title, calling it both a Bumblebee sequel and a Beast Wars film in one. I didn't really think Bumblebee was in this movie enough for it to be considered a sequel, considering he was dead for most of it.
It's more that like it does just take place after Bumblebee.
Yeah,
and they lightly reference it.
There are lines where, like, because when Optimus Prime doesn't want to work with Noah at the beginning, then Bumblebee says some stuff, and then Optimus Prime is like, I know that one was nice to you, but, like, we can't trust humans. And that's about it. And then, where am I? June 7th, 2021, principal photography begins in Los Angeles. They also filmed in various Peru locations, including Machu Picchu, and then they shot in Montreal, New Mexico, Iceland, and Brooklyn. And then October 20th, 2021, it is announced that filming has officially been wrapped. And then March 27th, 2023, the recording sessions for the film score begin. That's an interesting timeline thing to me. Yeah, so I don't know if it's a Bumblebee sequel. I don't know if they're going to make another one of those where it just focuses on him. But it seems like everyone wanted to come back for that, and probably not going to happen. It's been nominated for some awards, and it won one of them. It won the 2023 Golden Angel Award for the most popular U.S. film in China. And then it was a 2024 Saturn Award nominee for Best Science Fiction Film, 2024 Annie Award nominee for Outstanding Achievement for Character Animation in a Live-Action Production. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 won, and then Cocaine Bear was also nominated.
That's funny.
And then 2024 Kids' Choice Award Blimp Award nominee for Favorite Movie, and then 2024 People's Choice Award nominee, the Action Movie of the Year, and then Coleman Domingo specifically was a 2024 Columbus Film Critics Association nominee for Actor of the Year for an exemplary body of work. He was nominated for Transformers, The Color Purple, Rustin, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, all coming out in 2023. So we will have to watch all of those.
Yeah.
It's got a couple of taglines. There's one, Unite or Fall. Power is primal. That one's in the trailer. And then Till All Are One. All vaguely threatening. So Michael Bay apparently doesn't have plans to direct Transformers anymore. He's instead acting as a producer on the franchise.
Whatever.
So the last one in the franchise that he directed was The Last Knight. So he's responsible for our favorite character. He does have a credit on IMDb for directing an upcoming project called Robopocalypse.
That's different.
So he's got a story in his heart about robots still. And we get to see it.
Well, let me see. So what's next?
So besides Ron Perlman and Peter Dinklage, the cast didn't know who the voices of the Transformers would be until after they had all filmed. And Anthony Ramos kept laughing out loud when he had to record ADR for scenes with Pete Davidson. There's the one line specifically that they all really laughed at and didn't think it would get in the movie when Chris meets Mirage, and Noah tells Chris, like, they're just work friends. And Mirage goes, work friends? You were inside of me.
Yeah.
And
I was surprised that made it in.
So was everyone else.
Yeah.
But that one made him laugh out loud when he was recording stuff. And then Tony Rettenmaier and Joelle Taylor also received an off-screen additional literary material credit. Those are the writers and the director of They Clone Tyrone. Good for them. And then John DiMaggio and David Sobolov have multiple roles credited them on the film. DiMaggio voiced a Decepticon called Transit, who turned into a bus, but Transit was cut from the final film due to poor test screening.
Yeah, because there weren't any other Decepticons in this movie. The bad guys were the Terracons or whatever, so why was there a Decepticon?
I don't... I can't even pretend to care enough about the lore to know the difference between a Terracon and a Decepticon.
Wow, that's racist.
Yeah. So sorry. The final cut of the movie also got rid of lines from Rhinox. So, Sobolov is the only voice actor from the Beast Wars TV series to be in this movie. Sobolov also voices Ape Link. And the quote that's from Wikipedia says, Ape Link is a post-Beast Machines character that originated in fiction created for BotCon, the official Transformers annual convention from the early 2000s.
I know that the voice actor who voices Optimus Primal in the cartoon was upset he wasn't asked to return for this one, but I do believe Ron Perlman voiced Optimus Primal in a different work, and so I think they
went with Ron Perlman.
Yeah,
because it's Ron Perlman.
Yeah, so it is rough for the guy who started doing the voice
for sure,
but
it's Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
Just, again, the lore of creating a character for a convention. Wild. Anyway, the visual effects for this movie were not provided by Industrial Light and Magic like they had been for the previous films. Instead, they came from Moving Picture Company, which is a UK-based company, and then Weta FX, which is New Zealand-based and founded in part by Peter Jackson. And then the future franchise plans, we've talked about this a little bit. So in February 2022, it was announced that Rise of the Beast would be the first of 3 new installments in the Transformers franchise. May 2023, it was announced that Paramount had plans for a Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover, with the film ending of this movie further hinting at this. July 2023, De Bonaventura said the crossover wouldn't interfere with the continuity of the first 5 Transformers films, but he thinks, quote, continuity is overblown because sometimes you miss a great idea. So who knows if Michael Bay will be canon?
Yeah, so it's already not really canon because stuff that is discussed in Bumblebee and this film already broke the canon that was established in the Michael Bay films. So it's sort of, to me, a pick and choose what you want, which is whatever. It's Transformers.
You want robots fighting in the sky and you want it for
fine.
A different reason, then and then the official crossover was announced at CinemaCon 2024.
Yep.
So, for all those G.I. Joe heads out there, they're on the way. R rating?
R rating. We do it out of 4 with 5 options. 0 out of 4 is, oh, no, does not compute. It's like a robot thing that I was doing there.
Nice.
1 out of 4 is it was a movie. 2 out of 4 is well made or enjoyable. 3 is enjoyable and technically good. 4 is Oscar worthy. This one was actually kind of tough for me.
Really?
Because I did enjoy it more than I thought. And a lot of it was kind of done well.
Mm-hmm.
But it is going to get that Transformers weighted average. And I gave it a 2.
Yeah. I also gave it a 2.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
If you want to watch it. I can't really recommend this
I think
movie.
if you are a Transformers fan, this
then
one is pretty good.
I am friends on Instagram with someone who is a huge Transformers fan, and I don't get it, but that's fine. I feel like
I get it.
He did enjoy this one.
Star Wars, they're not Star Wars, but Transformers is someone else's Star Wars. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Everything is someone else's Star Wars.
Yeah. There is just so much lore in Transformers that I do get it. Because if you like world building, I like
on paper, everything about it great. Like that sounds fun. I've just it's never gotten me.
Yeah, that's fair. There are Transformers Magic the Gathering cards, which is a part of Dungeons and Dragons. So canonically, the crossover has already happened. It's right there. Just, come on, Hasbro.
Just bought it in Monopoly, and you got yourself a winner. You've got the next Barbie.
Well, I think that's going to do it for our main review. We always talk about another thing that we've watched recently. Um,
I was trying to think, and I don't think we've watched anything recently. We watched American Ninja Warrior when we were on the plane to Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to think. Did I watch any movies on the plane? I don't think I did. I just watched TV. But we have been watching a bunch of the show Sliders. So if you want really bad sci-fi with terrible world building, go ahead and go to Peacock.
It could be so good, or it could have. It's not gonna come back. It could have been really good. It's just wild that
it started off decent.
There's a lot of stuff where it's just the characters are just treated as placeholders, where they're we need conflict to go here, and it's not
there's absolutely no rhyme or reason why a character is saying or doing something.
The most concrete characters are Professor Arturo, where it's just he is an older man, so therefore he's gonna be a stick in the mud about stuff.
Yeah.
And then Quinn Mallory, who made the thing that makes him go to parallel worlds, so therefore his moral center is always I'm a boy genius and I want to be nice to people. And then stuff happens in between where they just their morals go back and forth on whether or not who's going to be in the right, or we need various things to happen for episodes. I think I enjoy watching it because it's a goofy show, but I think that's the most annoying thing when watching it. It's just God, just give it another pass, and it could have been.
Well, I think that's gonna do it for today's episode and this week's episode as well.
There's
true. Only one episode a week.
That's all we can do.
Yeah. So, support us on Patreon, follow us on Instagram, review and rate on your podcast platforms, and leave a comment.
Movie recommendations for 2023 that you want us to cover next, let us know.
If you have other comments or questions, put them in the comments, and we'll talk about them on our other show, Virtual House Sessions. But for now, we will see you next week.
Goodbye.